and this is the, can you believe it, 10-year anniversary of Tune of the Month. It started as a crazy idea in June 2014. What if I played a tune on the internet that other people may like? And here we are, all these tunes later. So thank you guys for tuning in and making this a thing. And it's been so fun to encounter all of you out in the real world and play these tunes with you. It's really, really fun. So it has become tradition, kind of by accident, that on the anniversary, on all the Junes, I teach an original tune of mine, usually one that you guys have been asking about. So this month, let's do a strathspey that I wrote a little while ago. The name, it's supposed to sound like a very Scottish name. Scottish tunes always have this name of, you know, the Duke of somebody's something or other, and you know, welcomes and laments and favorites and all that. So this tune is called Lord Tucker's Welcome Back to Carver. But in fact, this is not prim and proper and a big deal. Tucker is my mother's cat. Carver is where she lives. It's a street name. So it's really just my mom's cat coming home because he's hungry. Love how this works. Thanks as always for stopping by. We'll see you later. And if you're ready to learn it, it's been 10 years. You certainly know how this works and you have your instrument and we're ready to go. Okay, so you may have already figured out by sounding it out on your instrument, all those Tune of the Month skills that have been accumulating over a decade. You may have already figured out that this is in G major, 1 sharp, F sharp. And you can hear that it's one of those beautiful, stately, elegant East Coast Scottish style strathspey. So we're using, for string players, lots of sweeping bow. We're putting a lot of length into the notes. We're exaggerating the length of the tums and the snap of the T's. Tum, tee, tum, tum, tee, tum, as we've worked on many past Tune of the Month strathspeys. All right, so let's get going. It's a very standard part 1, part 2, part 1 again, ending form. And it's also a short tune. It's just a single tune, so it goes by quickly. I'm going to play the A section a little bit slowly, not too much more slowly because it's a pretty stately tune anyway. And if you slow it down too much, it stops making melodic sense. But we'll take a little bit of the edge off of it. See if you can help start sounding this out with me as I play here. A section. 1, 2, 3. I'll repeat it. Part 1. Part 2. Back to part 1. Ending. Yeah, we're starting to figure that out, piece it together. You can always just rewind the video, play it with me over and over again and see if you can sound it out yourself. Hopefully those learning by ear skills that we've been working on all these months, all these tunes, are starting to feel more and more comfortable, and you can do that because that is the most traditional way to learn these tunes. And even when they're new compositions, you treat them like traditional. But if it helps any of you to break it down further, let's do that now. Okay, so you probably heard that there's a triplet pickup. 1, 2, 3, triple. That's part 1. All right, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Notice what you can about the pattern, right? The triplet pickup goes up the scale to the root of G major, and this is it's a wonderful little G major pattern. We've done these before. I call it 1, 2, 3, 5 because it goes up the scale. There's the root 1, 2, 3 to the 5th, and up to the top root, yeah? And next part, little neighbor tone, and back to the root. So it's really just noodling around on G, which makes sense. It's the home chord. Do it again, part 1. 1, 2, 3. Tum, ti, ti, tum. Tum, ti, ti, tum. Good. And about the bowing, you'll notice that when I have tum, ti, ti, tums, the dotted rhythms, I'm keeping things fairly tidy in the middle of my bow using about an inch or 2. When I have the long quarter note, I'm letting my bow travel. Now I'm going to do up, up to the middle, right? So longer gestures get more bow, tidier gestures, the dotted rhythms get tidy bow. One more time, part 1. 1, 2, 3. Tidy bow, travel, up, up, tidy. Good. If you need any more repetitions of that, just go ahead and rewind the video. Magic of the internet. I'll always practice with you as much as you like. Here comes part 2. I'm going to go another triplet pickup. This is a very Skinner-esque moment here, right? Everybody knows I love James Scott Skinner. I'll do it again, part 2. Triplet pickups go up the scale. Okay, so you may notice that I got a little sneaky fancy thing here because technically if I'm on the fiddle, I'm out of range there of first position. Now I could shift for that, certainly could. I personally consider that a little too much work to shift for only one note. And that's only a C natural up there. So what I'm using is an extended 4th finger, right? I'm going up the scale. Here's my 4th finger. And now I'm just gonna nudge my 4th finger 1/2 step higher. It may feel like it's hugely high, but it's really not. Your pinky actually has more extended range than you think about, especially if I do this little thing where I actually bring my elbow around the fingerboard and it helps my pinky actually be longer, right? If you watch for it, if you know it's there, you can see it that I'm coming around the fingerboard when I reach up there, and it makes it much easier. Try it. And it's just up the scale, down the scale. Yeah, so you can try that little trick. It's a great way to be able to reach that C natural without having to shift. Of course, if you'd like to shift, you can also do that. Personal choice. I'm going to choose the sneaky 4th finger. Here I go again, part 2, whole thing. Uh-oh. Okay, So you notice, aside from the sneaky part that's very distracting, it's really easy. Up the scale, down the scale. G major arpeggio. Now, here's the Skinner triplets to cuts. So we've done these in past tune of the months. When you have in strathspey triplets, the words are broaden bow, more bow. Now, when I have the cuts, they're little big, and I'm going to engage my index finger before it starts, so it's really clean. Do you hear that? A little rapid fire. Little big, little is less bow, obviously, and big is more. And that choreography going from the broadening of the triplets to the really clean, tidy little bigs, the little cuts, is very cool and kind of dramatic, expressive strathspey playing. James Scott Skinner did this all the time. Do part two one more time. Sneaky fourth finger. Pretty good. All right, any more reps? Just rewind. We're back to part one, and it is almost exactly identical. The only thing that's different is the last note. Check it out. Yeah, in part one, the first time, we land on the root of G major. This time, it's the relative minor, E minor. It's this moment of sadness. What if Tucker doesn't come home? Right? Right? And it's amazing how one well-placed note can really change a whole section. But that's all that's really different. Do it again, part one again, the sad part one. Here's the ending. Sneaky fourth finger. So this time, the high fourth finger is the beginning of the pickup. So I'm going to extend my fourth finger basically as high as it'll go and play 4, 4, 3. Try it again. Extend your fourth finger basically as high as it'll go. Got that pattern figured out? The pickups, of course, are up, up. G major arpeggio. Now here's the D arpeggio, the 5 chord. With a classic strathspey rhythm, T-tum, tum, T-land. Good, ending one more time, up, up. And that's the whole A section. Are you ready to put the whole thing together? Let's do it. Starts with a triplet pickup for our G major. 1, 2, 3. Part 1. Part 2. G major. Here comes the Skinner. Triple it, triple it. Back to part 1. Ready to make it sad? Ending. For good measure, let's repeat it. Part 1. Very nice. That's the whole section. Now, this is kind of fun because with a lot of strathspeys, and this one no exception, you can get into a little bit of a debate with yourself if you want to play it double with the A repeated or single, just one A. And I still have not settled so much with this tune. When I'm playing it solo for listening in a concert or something like that, I tend to like it single. 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B. Of course, if I'm playing it for dancers, which I do now, which is kind of cool that dancers like this tune, they want 32 bars to go through the whole tune. So then it's 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 A's, 2 B's. And it really works either way. So you can try it both ways and see what you like. And composer's blessing to do whatever you prefer. Okay. Now, before we go into the B section, I just want to look at one little thing that you probably noticed a lot of when I played the whole tune up front, that I seem to be playing a lot of double stops, didn't I? Right? And it sounds very different from... That feels a lot kind of thinner and smaller and sweeter, and there's a nice interpretation of the tune that does that. But adding those things that sound like double stops adds a grandeur that's really important. So how am I actually getting those? Well, they're not really double stops. If I play full double stops, it's too heavy. And that just doesn't sound right at all. So what I'm using are what I call touch double stops, and it's almost like a hammer-on, right? Left hand ornaments, which we've done before, but with the bow. So I'm just touching the G string and immediately coming over to the D string. Now, if I do that beautifully, what you hear is that my G string just keeps ringing. And I'm doing it here with this G chord. I have my first finger on the A string and my second finger on the E string. That's pretty easy because I just played it. And if I leave that first finger down, I'm just going to leave it down from there. And it's ready to do that touch double stop again. Now, of course, when I have a finger down, it doesn't ring quite as powerfully as my open G string, but it still adds to the harmonization of the tune. So this is a really great way to give it the sound and the feel and the grandeur of double stops without the heaviness, because I'm not playing those extra notes. I'm touching them quickly and allowing them to ring through. It's a much more sophisticated sound. Let's try the whole A section. See if you can get those in. 1, 2, 3. Part 2. I do it at the end there. Now, what I'm actually doing here is I'm doing the hammer-on not just with the bow, but also with the left hand. Right, so I get my bow hammer-on first, into my left hand, hammer-on, and then it resolves. Fancy, and it gives it a really leaning feel. Let's do the repeat. See if you can add the left hand hammer-on with the right hand double stop hammer-on. By the way, if you have no idea what a hammer-on is, don't worry. We done talked about them in past tunes of the month, including the very first tune of the month that I ever did, my jig Exhale. So you can either pick it up on the fly here, or you can go check out those videos where we did it in great detail. But you definitely want the left hand component to be comfortable before you add the right hand component. All right, here's the repeat. 2, 3. You heard that there were other places that I put hammer-ons in as well. Remember, they fit on any long note at the beginning of the group. So in a strathspey, any tums. So for instance, I'm just going to give you that much hint and see if you can find others. You don't need them on every long note, but you could. I recommend putting them on every long note and then deciding which are your favorites to keep, and maybe even switching off on times through the tune. Okay, so usually we wait until the end of the video to put all the fun stuff in, but we just went ahead and loaded that A section up right now. Why not? We're there. Now we need a B section. And as we do the B section, I'll start it out plain with no extra decoration stuff, but I'd like you, as you get comfortable, start putting in these ideas. Where could you put little hammer-ons? In your left hand? And maybe could you add them with the bow if you wanted a chordal element? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, so here we go to the B section. The A section was in G major, happy, happy, happy. The B section, clouds are going to come in a little bit. It's E minor, our relative minor. So it doesn't change much with your left hand patterns, but it sounds darker. Here I go, whole B section, 2 pickups. I'll repeat it, part 1. Part 2. Variation. Ending. All right, I was trying really hard not to use the hammer-ons, either in left hand or bow, but a few of them creeped in. Maybe they did for you too. That's kind of a key way that I'm making this tune sound the way that I like it to sound. I'm using mostly that kind of ornamentation. Lots of well-placed hammer-ons. Okay, now in this B section, you can hear where, actually the whole tune, you can hear where I keep blatantly stealing from all my favorite Scottish composers. We had the Skinner triplets and cuts in the A section. The B section is very Neil Gow in terms of, instead of part 1, part 2, part 1 again ending, I've got kind of this part 1, part 2 sounds like part 1 again, but it develops it, and then an outright variation before the ending. Not too much to learn because it should make a lot of sense melodically. I like to think it does. Here I go, part 1. 2 pickups go down the scale to E minor. Good. Did you check out what chords are there? It starts with E minor. D major. And there's that little 1, 2, 3, 5. Only this time it's going down. It's kind of a callback from the A section, but we've developed it. The A section went up, B section goes down. Try it again. Part 1, 2, 3. If you're feeling good, add in some of those hammer-ons. I like 2 of them on a G. Here, and then I do on the D. Fits really nicely. One more time, part 1. And if you like, I do a little cascade down. It's just a down the scale. Good. Here's part 2. If you need any more, you know what to do. If you need more repetitions of that, hit rewind. Part 2. There's our E minor again. It looked like we were going to go back to Sunshine Land, and then no, big dark E minor cadence. Do it again. 2, 3. So that little cadence. I need the D sharp. It's the leading tone to E minor, and that's what confirms that we're in minor. Now when I land on that E, I like to do a little hammer-on with the open E string. So my hammer-on is the D sharp. And then I use fourth finger and open string together, that unison, which is that bagpipe sounding hammer-on, right? A chromatic hammer-on with the open string drum. We've done a lot of those in past Tune of the Months too. And it's a really great sound. Right? And that leaning, that tension, resolving feels really good. Let's go one more time, part 2. 1, 2, 3, 5, E minor. Good, and we're already halfway through the B section. In fact, let's go ahead and play part 1 and part 2 together. E minor, D major, E minor, E minor. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Part 1. E major. Here's part 2. Back to E minor. Keep going up. Big cadence. There it goes. And they should flow really sensically together. Let's do it again. Part 1, part 2. 1, 2, 3. Nice. If you want to get that a little more comfortable, just rewind. I'm going on now. This is the very gal moment. A total variation here. But it's really just broken thirds in E minor. Ooh, the sun comes out. So 2 pickups and broken thirds. E minor arpeggio. Little cascade. So that's a fun one. We get 16th notes. This is borrowing out of William Marshall, another of my favorite strathspey composers. So this is kind of a D7 getting us back to G. Down the scale. Up, up, D major. Good. So harmonically, it's moving pretty quickly. Let's try that whole variation again. 2 pickups go up for broken thirds in E minor. E minor arpeggio. Little cascade. D major. Not bad. One more time. 2, 3 variations. Yeah, and if you felt yourself wanting to hammer on some of the beginnings of each of those groups, I do too. One more time. Very good. And then just a cute little ending to finish. It's so cute. So you can hear it's just arpeggios. G major, A minor, and then 1, 5, 1, G, D, and then the very ending. So 1 chord, 2 chord, 1, 5, 1. 1 chord G major, 2 chord A minor, G, D, G. Do it without the chords calling, you can think them. One more time, ending. And now you got the whole tune. Let's do the whole B section together. Part 1, part 2. They kind of act like one phrase because they are. Variation and cute ending. Here we go. E minor. Just for good measure, let's repeat it. Put those hammer-ons in if you like. There we go. That's the whole tune. Well done, you guys. So, it's a really simple, tuneful tune. That's what I was going for. I think I got it. A lot happens emotionally when you're listening to it, but in terms of the notes, it's very, very simple, right? You can hear the little Skinner-esques, the little Gow-esques, the little Marshall-esques. We've done tunes by them, all 3 of them, on Tune of the Month in the past. And you might know them by other means, through other tunes that you learn not on Tune of the Month, which is great. And if you don't know who those guys are, whatever, you just know these gestures. And then when you do encounter them, you'll be like, oh, I know that from Lord Tucker's Welcome Back to Carver. And you can play with the hammer-on idea and that touch double stop. That's a great tool to put into all of your graceful Scottish style strathspeys. And actually a lot of other tunes too. I use that in airs a lot. I use it in marches a lot. It's a way to get the sound of double stops without the heaviness of fully droning the double stop. Just allowing the strings to ring is very powerful. All right, so as always, I hope you like the tune, and this gives you some great ideas to go and try in your other tunes. And as always, if you'd like to see sheet music for this or any other future tunes of the month, I do believe Tune of the Month still has a future because you guys are still learning these things. You can jump on my email newsletter. That's the way to get my handwritten, sorry guys, but that's what I got, my handwritten chicken scratch version of these. Hopefully you don't need it, but go to my website, www.mariblack.com, and subscribe to the newsletter. If you're already subscribed, you already have Lord Tucker's Welcome Back to Carver in your inbox. And if you're watching this in the future, all future tunes of the month will come to you as well. So I look forward to seeing you back here next month for more tunes. Happy birthday, Tune of the Month, and see you soon.